Rev up your engines! Today, by popular demand, I'm going to talk about cars that have the worst value when they're 5 years old. Things that you should think about not really buying. Because really, people can talk all they want about what they think is good and what they think is bad. When a car's 5 years old, when its value has plummeted down, telling you there's something wrong with that car. Now, depreciation is nothing new. Started in the 1800s with the railroad companies. They created depreciation so they could show more profit, because they wouldn't be subtracting the cost of laying tracks, the cost of their trains, all at once. It would be done over a period of time, making their yearly profits look higher. And today, if you apply the same stuff to your car, it shows each year how much value of the car was used up through depreciation. Now, some vehicles actually depreciate slower just because of people's belief in what's popular, like SUVs. Buying a used SUV, their resale prices are really higher in the United States because they're extremely popular. Now, the first car I'm going to talk about is a 2013-2014 Chevy Impala that loses 66.4% of its value by then. Now, there's a lot of reasons behind it. First of all, they're not that well-made vehicles. My customers that were unfortunate enough to buy them, they tend to fall apart at an early age. And a lot of them are used in rental fleets, so when those come to the market, after a few years, floods the market, makes the price go down. Now, I learned to drive on a Chevy Impala when I was a kid. They ran basically forever. When the body started to rot out, sold it to the junk man down the street. He pulled the V8 engine out and put it in his junk truck and drove it around for years longer. But the modern Impalas depreciate pretty fast for many valid reasons. Stay away from them. Now, the next car that depreciates fastly is, no surprise, the Jaguar XJL. It loses over 66% of its value too. And of course, that's no shocker. Everybody knows those things are endless money pits. Over the years, I've had customers that just wanted a toy. They'd buy one even older than 5 years, maybe 7 or 8 years old, but they'd only pay like $3,000 to $5,000 for a car that was a small fortune before. In their case, they paid anywhere between 80 and 90% less than the original sticker price. Now, yeah, luxury cars always depreciate pretty fast anyways, because it's always, they've got the cutting edge technology, so everybody wants the new cutting technology every year. But in the case of these Jags, a lot of people have actually wised up. A large percentage of the Jaguars in the United States, they aren't bought, they're leased. And guess what? When they come off lease, the market's flooded with them. There's tons of them out there. That drives the price down. But I mean, really, the overall poor quality of Jaguars over the last few decades in the United States. Almost everybody who knows cars knows, don't buy a used Jaguar unless you want a lawn ornament. Now, the next vehicle that depreciates like mad over 5 years is the Mercedes S-Class. And man, do they drop like a stone. I've seen S-Classes that originally sold for 120 grand going for $20,000 when they were 5, 6, 7 years old. They just drop like a stone. Not only they cost a lot, but they also cost a lot to maintain. And they're not as well built as you might think. I'll give you an example that happens to a whole bunch of them. They get oil leaks, and you think, ah, a little oil leak, no big deal. But I've seen a whole bunch of them that I worked on myself, and what happens is the oil leaks into the wiring system, and then the oil wicks up, just like if you've got one of those little lights, the campfire lights, the wick, and then it burns at the end and makes light. You're getting oil and it's wicking up through the wiring system. And that's bad news in the Mercedes, because some of these Mercedes have over 90 separate computer modules. Well, eventually that oil wicks through the wiring, gets to the computers, and fries them out. I guess they weren't thinking about that in Deutschland when they built them, but a whole bunch of them been wiped out by stuff like that. And in a car that can cost over $120,000, that's inexcusable. So the market, rightfully so, says to the Mercedes S-Class, you're not worth hardly anything as you age. Now, the next car that depreciates real fast is a 2013 Nissan Altima. Decades ago, the Altimas were great cars, but hey, Renault bought up Nissan. Their quality has been going over time. And I've seen their horrible transmissions blow up all the time. I've seen them blow head gaskets in the engines. They're not very well made cars. And so the Nissan Altima, their resale value was decades ago they had really good resale value. Not anymore. Now, the next car that has plummeting value when it's 5 years old is the Chrysler 200. That's got a lot of Fiat in it. Fiat engines, transmissions, notorious for being unreliable. I had a customer with one, bought it for her daughter, was taking it to college. The engine blew up on the way to college, and Chrysler wouldn't stand behind it. They had to pay for it themselves. And the transmissions, these things were horrid. I rented one years ago, and I thought, gee, this car's only got 6,500 miles on it, and the transmission is already garbage. I could tell that. Sure, it was a rental car and people beat it, but 6,500 miles and the transmission's already starting to act up? Hey, even Chrysler realized that one. They don't make them anymore. No more Chrysler 200s. Now, the last car I'm talking about with plummeting resale value at 5 years is a 2013 Volkswagen Passat. What a surprise, a Volkswagen with values that drop like a stone. They have catalytic converter failure. They have air conditioning compressor failure. And they went to that GDI system. They have high pressure fuel pump failure where metal fragments get to the fuel system and can destroy all kinds of stuff. So the market's really took a dump on the Passats. You can get a used Volkswagen cheap, there's no arguing that. But do you really want one? I've got a customer. We had one with an automatic transmission that went out, wasn't in warranty anymore. Cost them over $6 grand to get that thing fixed. It was really more than the car was worth. Now, if you've been listening, you'll realize there's a lot of luxury cars and sedans on this list. And that's because they are becoming less popular, the sedans. Luxury cars have always plummeted quite a bit just because the snob appeal, and if you're going to have snob appeal, you got to keep getting a new car with all the fancy stuff on it. But sedans themselves are becoming less popular and SUVs are taking over. So their values don't drop as fast as the sedans or luxury cars. So now you know a little bit more about car depreciation, maybe what you should get if you want to make a wise choice about what you buy. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.